My name is Robert Campbell, and I destroyed my life with 3 minutes and 47 seconds of video footage. The most convincing evidence of the Loch Ness Monster ever recorded. Clear, steady, undeniable proof that something impossible lives in those dark waters. The kind of footage that monster hunters have been chasing for decades. The kind of evidence that should have made me rich, made me famous, made me a legend. Instead, it made me a prisoner. I'm recording this confession in a caravan park outside Inverness, 300 miles from the loch and still not far enough. It's been 8 years since I filmed the creature. 8 years since I made the worst mistake of my life and showed that footage to another human being. 8 years of running, hiding, looking over my shoulder, waiting for them to find me again. They will find me. Eventually. They always do. But before they come, before they take this recording and destroy it like they've destroyed everything else, I need someone to know the truth. Not about the monster, everyone wants to know about the monster. I need someone to know about what came after. About the people who appeared in my life within hours of that footage leaving my camera. About the organization that doesn't officially exist. About the choice they gave me and the price I paid for choosing wrong. I was a wildlife photographer in 1986. Freelance, moderately successful, specializing in Scottish fauna, red deer, golden eagles, pine martens, the kind of subjects that magazines and nature documentaries paid decent money for. I'd been working the Highlands for 15 years, ever since I left Glasgow with a second-hand camera and a dream of making a living from something other than shipyard work. The loch was always there, of course. Impossible to work the Highlands and not be aware of it, not be drawn to it. But I'd always dismissed the monster stories as tourist nonsense, local color for the gullible. I'd filmed on the shores dozens of times and never seen anything more unusual than a log or a boat wake. That changed on a Tuesday morning in April. I'd rented a small fishing boat from a local in Drumnadroshit, an old man named Hugh who asked no questions and charged cash rates. I was after footage of ospreys fishing, and the best vantage point was from the water itself. I had my professional video camera, expensive and heavy, mounted on a stabilized rig. I had patience. I had perfect weather, calm water, good light, the kind of morning that makes photographers believe in divine providence. The osprey never came. But something else did. If you're watching this, if this recording has somehow survived and reached you, then you need to understand something from the start. What I'm about to tell you is the truth. Every word. Every impossible detail. And if you choose to believe me, if you choose to share this story, you need to be prepared for what might come looking for you. Subscribe to this channel if you're ready for that risk. Hit that like button if you believe some truths are worth telling regardless of the cost. Share this with someone you trust, and I mean truly trust, because once you know what I know, you can't unknow it. I was filming the water, panning slowly across the surface, when I saw the disturbance. Not waves, not ripples from wind or current. Something moving beneath the surface, large enough to create a swell that lifted the boat gently and set it down again. I kept filming. Professional instinct. Whatever it was, seal, large fish, submerged debris, it would be interesting footage at minimum. Then the neck broke the surface. I've watched that footage thousands of times. I can recite every frame, every movement, every detail burned into my memory like a scar. But I'll never watch it again, because the original is gone, confiscated, locked away in some facility I'll never see. All I have left are the memories and the nightmares. The creature surfaced 20 meters from my boat. Close enough that even a budget camera would have captured it clearly. With my professional equipment, with the stabilized rig and the high-quality lens, the detail was extraordinary. The neck was perhaps 3 meters long, serpentine, covered in skin that looked almost black in the water but showed grey-green mottling when the light hit it right. The head was smaller than I expected, narrower, with eyes that were too large and too forward-facing for a reptile. Not predator eyes exactly, but not herbivore eyes either. Something else. Something that suggested intelligence that made my hand shake even as I kept the camera steady. It moved slowly, deliberately, as if it knew I was filming. As if it wanted to be filmed. The neck swayed slightly, and I could see the musculature beneath the skin, could see the way it moved through the water with barely a ripple despite its size. Then it turned to look directly at the camera. That moment, when those eyes focused on the lens, when I felt the weight of that gaze even through the viewfinder, that was when I should have stopped filming. Should have put down the camera, started the engine, gotten the hell away from there. But I didn't. I was a professional. I was documenting something unprecedented. I kept filming. The creature circled the boat. Slowly. Once. Twice. 3 times. Each pass brought it slightly closer, until I could have reached out and touched it if I'd been foolish enough to try. I could see the texture of its skin, could see old scars crossing its neck, could see what looked like barnacles or some other growth clustered near where the neck met the water. And then, on the 4th pass, it stopped. Hung motionless in the water, its head level with the side of my boat, no more than 2 meters away. We stared at each other, me through the camera lens, it with those impossible eyes, for what felt like an eternity but was probably only seconds. Then it opened its mouth. Not threatening. Not aggressive. Just opened. And I saw inside. Saw teeth, yes, but not the teeth of a predator. Flat, grinding teeth. Herbivore teeth. Whatever this creature was, it wasn't hunting me. Wasn't even interested in me as prey. The mouth closed. The creature sank beneath the surface, smoothly and silently, leaving barely a ripple. And it was gone. I sat in that boat for another 20 minutes, the camera still recording, pointing at empty water, my hands trembling so badly I could barely hold the equipment. When I finally managed to turn it off, I noticed that my face was wet with tears. Not from fear, though there was fear there, but from the sheer overwhelming privilege of having witnessed something impossible. 3 minutes and 47 seconds of footage. The clearest, most detailed video of the Loch Ness Monster ever captured. Proof. Undeniable, irrefutable proof. I rowed back to shore, paid Hugh his fee, loaded my equipment into my van, and drove back to my flat in Fort William. I didn't tell him what I'd filmed. Didn't tell anyone. I needed to watch it first. Needed to process what I'd captured. Needed to decide what to do with it. I watched it that evening in my dark living room, the television screen filled with those impossible images. And as I watched, as the reality settled over me, I realized that I had 2 choices. I could destroy the footage, wipe the tape, pretend it never happened, go back to filming ospreys and red deer and living my quiet, anonymous life. Or I could release it, share it with the world, become the man who finally proved the monster was real. I chose wrong. I didn't release it immediately. I spent 3 days thinking, planning, making copies of the footage, one set hidden in my flat, another in a safe deposit box at a bank in Inverness, a third mailed to my sister in Edinburgh with instructions not to open it unless something happened to me. I was being paranoid, I thought. overly cautious. But I'd read enough stories about photographers who'd supposedly captured evidence of cryptids, only to have their footage confiscated or destroyed or mysteriously lost. I wasn't going to let that happen to me. On the fourth day, I called a contact at the BBC. A producer I'd worked with on a wildlife documentary about Scottish wildcats. His name was Martin Shaw, and he was the kind of man who appreciated a good story and had the connections to get it in front of the right people. "Martin," I said when he answered. "It's Robert Campbell. I've got something. Something extraordinary." "How extraordinary?" "Loch Ness. Video. Close range. 3 minutes of the clearest footage you've ever seen." There was a long silence on the other end of the line. "Then, you're serious?" "Completely." "How clear?" "Clear enough to count the scars on its neck. Clear enough to see its eyes. Clear enough that there's no possibility of misidentification or hoax." Another silence. "Then, I need to see it. Can you bring it to London? I'd rather you came here. I don't want to let the original out of my sight." "Fair enough. I'll be on the first train tomorrow morning. Don't talk to anyone else about this, Robert. Not until I've seen it." "Understood." "Understood." I hung up and felt a mixture of excitement and dread settle in my stomach. This was it. The moment that would change everything. Tomorrow, Martin would see the footage. He would help me release it properly, through the BBC, with proper authentication and documentation. It would be vetted, analyzed, presented to the world in a way that couldn't be dismissed or ridiculed. I would be famous. I would be vindicated. I would be the man who proved that monsters were real. The phone rang at 2 in the morning. I answered it half asleep, confused, expecting Martin calling to confirm details. Instead, a voice I didn't recognize. Cultured, calm, with an accent I couldn't quite place, spoke in my ear. "Mr. Campbell. My name is irrelevant, but my message is not. You filmed something yesterday that does not belong to you. Something that should not have been filmed. Something that must not be released." I was suddenly very awake, my heart hammering. "Who is this? How did you? How I obtained your number is also irrelevant. What matters is that you listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. The footage you captured is dangerous. Not to you specifically, though it will become so if you continue on your current path. Dangerous to systems and structures that have been in place for a very long time. Structures that protect people like you from truths they're not equipped to handle. I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. You filmed a creature that officially doesn't exist. You plan to release that footage through a contact at the BBC. This cannot be permitted to happen. Stop. Right here. This is where everything changed. This is where I should have hung up, should have called the police, should have realized that something deeply wrong was happening. If you're still listening, if you haven't dismissed this as paranoid fantasy, then subscribe now. Hit that like button if you understand that some secrets have guardians. Because what I'm about to tell you is how those guardians operate." "Are you threatening me?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm offering you a choice, Mr. Campbell. You can voluntarily surrender all copies of the footage, yes, all copies, including the ones you think are safely hidden, and sign a legally binding non-disclosure agreement. In return, you will receive compensation. Substantial compensation. Enough to continue your photography career without financial worry for the rest of your life. And if I refuse, then we will take the footage anyway. And you will wish you had accepted our offer." The line went dead. I sat in the darkness of my bedroom, the phone still pressed to my ear, trying to convince myself I'd imagined it. A prank call. A bizarre coincidence. Nothing to worry about. But I knew better. Someone had been watching me. Someone knew about the footage, knew about my copies, knew about my plans. Someone who could call me at 2 in the morning and make threats that sounded less like threats and more like statements of inevitable fact. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table with a bottle of whiskey and my copies of the footage, trying to decide what to do. By dawn, I'd made my decision. I would release it anyway. I would give one copy to Martin when he arrived. The others would remain hidden. If someone tried to stop me, if someone tried to take the footage, I'd have backups. I'd have proof. I was a fool. Martin arrived at 11 in the morning, taking a taxi from the Fort William train station to my flat. He looked tired but excited, clutching a leather briefcase and scanning the street before he entered my building, a habit I would later understand was not paranoia but wisdom. "Robert," he said, shaking my hand with barely contained enthusiasm. "Show me." I put the tape in my VCR and let it play. Watched his face as he saw what I'd captured. Watched his expression shift from skepticism to shock to something approaching religious awe. When it finished, he was silent for a long moment. Then, "My God. Robert. My God. Do you understand what you have here?" "I think so. This is the story of the decade. Maybe the century. We need to get this authenticated immediately. I know people at the Natural History Museum, cryptozoologists who can verify it's not a hoax, marine biologists who can identify." The knock on the door interrupted him. I wasn't expecting anyone. Hadn't ordered food, hadn't called for any services. But the knock was polite, professional, the kind of knock that suggested official business. I looked through the peephole and saw 2 people standing in the hallway. A man and a woman, both in dark suits, both with the kind of neutral expressions that suggested law enforcement or government work. "Don't answer it," Martin whispered behind me, and there was something in his voice, fear, recognition, that made my blood run cold. "Mr. Campbell," the woman called through the door. "We need to speak with you about some video footage. We know Mr. Shaw is with you. We're not here to harm either of you. We simply need to have a conversation." "How do they know I'm here?" Martin hissed. I had no answer. I hadn't told anyone Martin was coming except Martin himself. The knock came again, firmer this time. "Mr. Campbell, you received a phone call last night. You were offered a choice. We're here to discuss that choice and ensure you understand the consequences of your decision. Please open the door." I looked at Martin. He was pale, his hands shaking slightly. "What phone call?" he asked. I told him quickly, in whispers, about the 2 a.m. call. About the threat, the offer, the warning. As I spoke, his face grew even paler. "Oh Christ," he muttered. "Oh Christ, Robert. You should have told me. You should have warned me before I came." "Warned you about what? Who are these people?" But before he could answer, the door opened. Not kicked in. Not broken. It simply opened, smoothly and silently, despite being locked. The man and woman stepped inside, their movements unhurried and professional, and the woman held up what looked like a warrant card. "Mr. Campbell. Mr. Shaw. Please remain calm. We're from a department that doesn't officially exist, investigating matters that officially don't happen. You've encountered something that falls under our purview, and we need to discuss how to proceed." The man closed the door behind them. I noticed he moved to stand between us and the only exit. "Who are you?" I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. As I said, we're from a department that doesn't officially exist. You can think of us as custodians. We maintain boundaries between what the public knows and what the public can safely know. You've crossed one of those boundaries, Mr. Campbell. Now we need to discuss how to get you back on the correct side. The woman walked to my television, ejected the tape from the VCR, and held it up. "Is this the original?" I didn't answer. "It doesn't matter," she continued. "We know about the copies. The one in the safe deposit box. The one you mailed to your sister. The one hidden behind the false panel in your bedroom closet. Yes, we know about that one too. We'll be collecting all of them. The question is whether we collect them with your cooperation or without it." They made us sit. Made us cups of tea, as if this were a social visit rather than whatever nightmare scenario I'd stumbled into. The woman introduced herself as Agent Morrison, though she made it clear that wasn't her real name. The man was Agent Clark, equally pseudonymous. "Let me explain the situation," Morrison said, settling into my armchair with the ease of someone comfortable with authority. "The creature you filmed, we'll call it the subject for convenience, is real. You know that because you saw it. You filmed it. You have evidence that would, if released publicly, fundamentally alter how humanity understands its place in the natural world. Isn't that a good thing?" I asked. "Isn't that what science is supposed to do? Discover truth?" In theory, yes. In practice, the truth about the subject is considerably more complicated than undiscovered species lives in Scottish Loch. The subject is not what you think it is. It's not what anyone thinks it is. And if that footage is released, if it's properly analyzed, if the right questions are asked by the right people, it will open doors that have been carefully kept closed for very good reasons. "What kind of doors?" Morrison and Clark exchanged a glance. Then Morrison said, "The kind that lead to questions about why the subject exists. Where it came from. How it survived. What it's been doing for the past several thousand years. And most importantly, who else knows about it and has been keeping that knowledge secret." "You're saying there's a conspiracy," Martin said quietly. "A cover-up." "We're saying there's a system," Clark corrected. "A very old system, maintained by multiple organizations across multiple countries, designed to manage information about certain phenomena that would destabilize society if widely known. The subject is one of those phenomena. Your footage threatens that system." "So you're going to take it," I said. "Take the footage and make me disappear. That's what this is. That's what you people do." Morrison smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Mr. Campbell, if we wanted you to disappear, you would have disappeared already. We're not villains from a spy novel. We're civil servants. We have procedures, protocols, legal frameworks. What we're offering you is a choice, the same choice offered to every civilian who accidentally stumbles across information they shouldn't have." She opened a briefcase and removed several documents. Option 1. You voluntarily surrender all copies of the footage. You sign a non-disclosure agreement backed by the Official Secrets Act. You accept financial compensation, £50,000 now, £10,000 annually for the rest of your life, and you go back to your photography career with the understanding that any attempt to discuss what you saw, what you filmed, or what we've discussed today will result in immediate prosecution. And option 2. I asked, though I could guess. Option 2. We confiscate the footage anyway. You're detained under national security provisions. You spend several months in a facility that doesn't officially exist while we ensure you haven't shared the information with anyone else. Eventually you're released, but your credibility is destroyed. You're marked as mentally unstable. Your career is over. And you spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, wondering if we're still watching. That's not a choice, Martin said. That's coercion. That's reality, Morrison replied. The system exists for a reason, Mr. Shaw. You of all people should understand that. You've worked in media long enough to know there are stories that never get told, footage that never airs, truths that remain hidden not because of conspiracy but because of consensus. This is one of those truths. I looked at the documents. The non-disclosure agreement was thick, filled with legal language I barely understood. The compensation offer was genuine. I could see the bank account information, the payment schedule, the official stamps and signatures. £50,000. Enough to clear my debts, upgrade my equipment, maybe buy a small house instead of renting. $10,000 a year for life. Financial security I'd never had as a freelance photographer. All I had to do was give up the most important footage I'd ever captured. Agree to never speak of it. Pretend it never happened. Or refuse and lose everything anyway while also losing my freedom for months. I thought about the creature. Those eyes looking into my camera. The intelligence I'd sensed. The feeling that it had wanted to be filmed, that it had chosen to reveal itself. And I thought about why. Why would it do that? Why would an ancient creature that had successfully hidden from humanity for centuries suddenly surface in full view of a professional camera? Unless it wanted to be revealed. Unless it was tired of hiding. Unless it had reasons of its own for wanting the truth to come out. I looked at Morrison and Clark, at their neutral expressions and their official demeanor and their carefully prepared documents. And I made my choice. I'll take option 1, I said. I'll sign. Martin's head snapped toward me. Robert, you can't. I can and I will, I interrupted. I'm not going to prison for this. I'm not going to have my life destroyed. If they're going to take the footage anyway, I might as well get something for it. It was the smart choice. The rational choice. The choice that would let me go back to my life with minimal damage. It was also the choice I've regretted every day since. I signed the documents. I took the money. I watched them collect every copy of the footage, including the ones I thought were hidden. And I went back to my life, believing that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Because the creature I filmed wasn't done with me. And neither were the people who wanted it to stay hidden. Part 2 will reveal what happened after I signed that agreement, and why I'm running 8 years later. The first payment arrived exactly as promised. £50,000 deposited into my bank account 3 days after I signed the non-disclosure agreement. I paid off my debts, bought new camera equipment, tried to convince myself I'd made the right choice. Martin Shaw stopped returning my calls. When I finally reached him through his office, he was cold, distant. "We can't work together anymore, Robert. I signed the same agreement you did. Best if we just move on. Forget we ever had that conversation." So I moved on. Or tried to. Took assignments photographing red squirrels in Cairngorms, golden eagles in the Highlands, seals along the coast. Professional work, good money, nothing extraordinary. The kind of safe, predictable career I'd had before that Tuesday morning in April. But I couldn't forget. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those 3 minutes and 47 seconds. The creature's neck rising from the water. Those intelligent eyes looking into my camera. The deliberate way it had circled my boat, as if posing, as if wanting to be documented. And I started noticing things. The car that seemed to be parked on my street more often than coincidence would explain. Different cars, different drivers, but always someone sitting in the driver's seat, reading a newspaper or talking on a mobile phone, glancing up whenever I left my flat. The man in the coffee shop who always seemed to arrive just after I did, who would sit in the corner with a view of my table, nursing the same cup for hours. The clicking sounds on my phone line. The way my mail sometimes arrived already opened, then carefully resealed. They were watching me. Making sure I kept my agreement. Making sure I didn't talk, didn't write, didn't try to recreate what I'd lost. I told myself I was being paranoid. That signing the agreement had made me suspicious, made me see conspiracies where none existed. But the paranoia had a weight to it, a substance that felt like truth rather than delusion. 6 months after signing, I received a visitor. I was in my flat editing photographs when the knock came. Professional, polite, the same rhythm as the knock that had preceded Morrison and Clark's arrival. I looked through the peephole and saw a man I didn't recognize, older, perhaps 60, wearing an expensive suit and carrying a leather document case. "Mr. Campbell," he said when I opened the door. "My name is Dr. Heinrich Weber. I'm not with the department that visited you previously. I represent a different organization. May I come in?" Every instinct screamed at me to refuse. To close the door, call the police, report a suspicious visitor. But curiosity won out over caution. It always did with me. Weber settled into my armchair, the same chair Morrison had used, and opened his document case. "I know you signed a non-disclosure agreement with the British government. I'm not here to ask you to violate that agreement. I'm here to offer you something they cannot. What could you possibly offer me?" "Answers," Weber said simply. "You filmed something extraordinary. You were forced to surrender that footage and sign away your right to discuss it. But you still have questions, don't you? Questions about what you saw. Questions about why it matters so much. Questions about who else knows and what they're hiding." He was right. The questions haunted me every night, kept me awake, made the whiskey taste like necessity rather than pleasure. "I can't talk about it," I said. "The agreement. The agreement forbids you from discussing the footage with media, with scientists, with the general public. It says nothing about discussing it with authorized researchers. And I, Mr. Campbell, am authorized by an organization that has been studying the subject for considerably longer than the British government has been covering it up." He produced a document from his case. It looked official, covered in stamps and signatures I couldn't verify. International Cryptozoological Research Institute. We're based in Switzerland, funded by private donors, operating under international treaties that supersede national security classifications. We've been aware of the subject for 40 years. We know what it is, where it came from, and why your footage was so threatening to the official narrative. This is where it gets complicated, where the layers of deception start to multiply. If you're still with me, if you want to understand just how deep this goes, then subscribe now. Hit that like button if you believe that sometimes the truth has to be stolen from the people claiming to protect it. Because what Dr. Weber told me that day changed everything I thought I knew. Tell me, I said. Dr. Weber spoke for 2 hours. I recorded none of it, didn't dare, given the surveillance I suspected, but I remember every word. Some truths burn themselves into memory whether you want them there or not. The creature you filmed is not a prehistoric survivor, Weber began. It's not a plesiosaur or any known species of marine reptile. Those theories are convenient cover stories, misdirection to keep people looking in the wrong direction. Then what is it? It's a guardian. An observer. One of several distributed across the planet in deep, isolated bodies of water. Loch Ness, Lake Baikal, Lake Tahoe, Lake Champlain. All have similar phenomena reported throughout history. All are connected to something much larger than local legend. Connected how? Weber pulled out photographs from his case. Aerial shots of various lakes, sonar readings, ancient artwork from different cultures. These creatures, we call them observers, have been documented for thousands of years. Cave paintings in Scotland showing serpentine forms in water. Native American legends of water guardians. Aboriginal stories of rainbow serpents in deep water holes. The same basic description across dozens of cultures that had no contact with each other. So they're real. Multiple creatures, not just one. They're real. But they're not animals in the traditional sense. Our research suggests they're biological constructs. Created. Designed. Placed in these locations for a specific purpose. I stared at him. Created by whom? That's the question that terrifies every government that knows about them. Because the answer implies something that most of humanity isn't ready to accept, that we're not the first intelligent species on this planet. Not the first civilization. Not even the second or third. He spread the photographs across my coffee table. The observers are approximately 50,000 years old. Give or take a few millennia. They predate modern humans, predate every civilization we have records of. They're remnants of something that came before. And they're still active. Still watching. Still reporting back to something. Reporting to what? We don't know. Our monitoring equipment detects electromagnetic signals emanating from the observers at regular intervals. The signals go deep into the Earth, far deeper than any known geological structure. We believe there's something down there. Something that placed the observers and is still receiving their reports. My mouth was dry. What are they observing? What are they reporting? Us, Weber said quietly. Humanity. Our development. Our technology. Our impact on the planet. The observers are monitoring stations. They've been watching our species evolve from primitive tribes to industrial civilization. And when we reach certain thresholds, nuclear weapons, space exploration, genetic engineering, the reports increase. The signals grow stronger. You're saying we're being studied? Like lab rats. I'm saying we're being monitored. There's a difference. Lab rats don't know they're being observed. We do, or at least some of us do. The governments that know about the observers have been trying to keep this information suppressed because they understand the implications. If humanity learns that we're not alone on this planet, that something intelligent was here before us and is still here, still watching, still judging our progress, it would fundamentally change how we see ourselves. So they threatened me, forced me to sign the agreement, because my footage was too clear, too undeniable. Your footage showed something they've spent decades trying to hide. You captured the observer in perfect detail, close enough to see features that would raise questions. Questions about biology that doesn't match any known species. Questions about behavior that suggests intelligence rather than animal instinct. Questions that lead to the truth they're desperate to conceal. I thought about the creature's eyes, the way it had looked at my camera, the deliberate circling of my boat. It wanted to be filmed, I said. It knew I was there. It posed for me. Yes, Weber agreed. The observers are becoming restless. Our research suggests they're preparing for something. A shift. A change. They've been passive monitors for 50,000 years, but in the last decade, there have been more sightings, more deliberate revelations. Your footage was just one of several incidents where observers have made themselves visible to humans with recording equipment. They want to be documented. They want humanity to know they're there. Why? That's what we're trying to determine. It could be a warning. Could be an invitation. Could be the first stage of contact with whatever placed them here. We don't know. But we know something is coming. Something significant. And the governments keeping this secret are terrified of what happens when they can no longer maintain the cover-up. Dr. Weber left me with documents. Research papers published in obscure journals, testimony from other witnesses who'd been silenced, photographs of observers from other lakes around the world. Evidence that would have been career-making for any scientist willing to risk association with fringe research. Study these, he said. Understand what you witnessed. And when you're ready, when you've decided whether you want to be part of this or remain silent, contact me. He handed me a card with nothing but a phone number. But be careful. The people who made you sign that agreement don't know about us yet. If they discover you've been talking to me, they'll assume you violated your NDA. And they won't be as polite the second time. He left. I spent the next 3 weeks reading everything he'd given me, checking facts where I could, trying to verify claims that seemed impossible. Some of it was clearly speculation. Some of it felt like conspiracy theory taken too far. But some of it, too much of it, matched what I'd seen. What I'd felt when I looked into those eyes. I called the number on Dr. Weber's card. Mr. Campbell, he answered immediately. Have you made a decision? I want to help. I want to be part of this research. But I can't violate my NDA. I can't risk prison. You won't have to. We're not asking you to go public with your footage, they've already destroyed it anyway. We're asking you to help us document the other observers. To use your skills as a photographer to capture evidence that can't be suppressed. To be part of a team that's working to reveal the truth gradually, carefully, in ways that won't trigger the kind of response you experienced. What would I have to do? Travel. We have reports of observer activity in Lake Baikal, in Russia. Increased sightings, unusual behavior. We need someone with professional equipment and the skill to document it properly. Someone who understands what they're looking for. Someone who's already been silenced and therefore won't attract the same level of scrutiny as an obvious researcher. It was risky. Stupid, probably. But I was tired of being watched, tired of living with the weight of knowing something true and being forced to pretend it was false. "I'll do it," I said. Here's where I made my second mistake. The first was showing the footage to Martin. The second was trusting Dr. Webber. Because nothing about what I'm telling you is as simple as it seems. Not the government conspiracy. Not the International Cryptozoological Research Institute. Not even the observers themselves. Subscribe if you want to understand how deep the deception goes. Hit that like button if you're ready for the truth behind the truth. Because what I discovered in Russia made everything else look like children's games. 3 months later, I was on a plane to Irkutsk, Siberia, with camera equipment and credentials identifying me as a freelance nature photographer working on a documentary about Lake Baikал's unique ecosystem. All legitimate. All carefully arranged by Webber's organization. The lake was extraordinary, the deepest in the world, containing a fifth of all the fresh water on Earth's surface. Ancient beyond comprehension, isolated enough that it had developed its own unique species found nowhere else. The perfect place for an observer. The sightings had been concentrated near the northern end of the lake, in an area called the Academician Ridge, where the water depth exceeded 1,600 meters. I spent 2 weeks working with a local crew, documenting seals, an endemic fish species, establishing my cover as a legitimate researcher. On the 15th day, we saw it. The creature in Lake Baikal was different from the one in Loch Ness. Larger, darker, with a body structure that suggested greater mass. But the eyes were the same. That intelligence. That sense of being seen, being assessed, being judged by something that understood far more than it should. I filmed it. Not obviously, not in a way that would alert my Russian crew to what I was capturing. Just documentary footage that happened to include unusual disturbances in the water, strange shadows moving beneath the surface, and after 3 brief seconds, a clear view of something that shouldn't exist. I sent the footage to Dr. Webber through encrypted channels. Waited for his response, for validation, for confirmation that I'd succeeded in documenting another observer. Instead, I got a warning. "Leave Russia immediately," Webber's message said. "They know you're there. They know what you're filming. Get to the airport. Get on the first flight out. We'll extract you from Moscow." I packed in minutes, told my Russian crew I'd received an emergency call about a family illness, and hired a driver to take me the 8 hours back to Irkutsk. My flight to Moscow was leaving in 6 hours. I could make it if I hurried. I almost made it. The black car pulled up alongside us 50 kilometers outside Irkutsk. No markings, no lights, just a sleek vehicle that matched our speed on the empty Siberian highway. My driver cursed in Russian, started to accelerate. The car ahead of us, I hadn't even seen it approach, slammed on its brakes. We had nowhere to go. The driver managed to avoid a collision, but we were boxed in, trapped between 2 vehicles that had appeared from nowhere. Men got out. Not Russian police. Not military. They wore civilian clothes but moved with military precision, and the weapons they carried weren't standard issue for any organization I recognized. They pulled me from the car. Took my camera equipment. One of them spoke in English with a British accent, "Mr. Campbell. You violated your non-disclosure agreement. You've continued to seek out and document classified phenomena. You've worked with unauthorized organizations. This constitutes a breach of national security. I haven't released anything, I protested. I haven't shown the footage to anyone except an organization that has no authority to possess classified information. An organization that has been under investigation for intelligence gathering and espionage. An organization that used you, Mr. Campbell, to collect data they could never acquire through legitimate channels. They put me in the back of one of the cars. Drove me not to an airport or a police station but to a facility outside Irkutsk that didn't officially exist. Held me in a windowless room for 3 days, asking questions about Dr. Weber, about his organization, about what they'd told me and what I'd filmed. I told them everything. Not because I was brave enough to resist interrogation, but because I realized I had no choice. Weber's organization wasn't what he'd claimed. The International Cryptozoological Research Institute didn't exist in any official capacity. I'd been recruited by an intelligence operation, whose intelligence I never learned, and used to document phenomena that multiple governments were trying to keep secret. On the 4th day, a different agent came to see me. Not British. American, from her accent. "Mr. Campbell," she said, sitting across the metal table from me. "You're in a difficult situation. You violated your NDA with the British government. You've worked with an organization engaged in intelligence gathering against NATO interests. You filmed classified phenomena in Russian territory without authorization. Any one of these would be enough to keep you detained indefinitely. What do you want? We want you to understand something very clearly. There are things in this world, phenomena, entities, structures, that are kept secret not because of conspiracy but because of consensus. Multiple governments, multiple agencies, all agreeing that certain information is too destabilizing to release. The observers are one of those things. They're real. They're being monitored. And they will remain secret until such time as revealing them becomes less dangerous than continuing to hide them. When will that be? Probably never. Because the observers aren't the real secret, Mr. Campbell. They're just the surface. Just the visible part of something much larger and much stranger. And if humanity learns about them, learns about what they represent, the questions that follow will destroy the social order we've spent centuries building." She stood to leave, then paused. "We're going to let you go. Not because you deserve it, but because keeping you creates more problems than it solves. But if you ever try to document or discuss the observers again, we won't be so generous. Do you understand?" "Yes," I said, "because what else could I say? They released me in Moscow. Confiscated my equipment, my passport, my notes. Gave me a temporary travel document and put me on a flight to London with an escort who made sure I actually boarded. I arrived back in Britain with nothing but the clothes I was wearing and the memories I couldn't erase. The second payment from my original NDA had stopped. My bank account had been frozen pending investigation of financial irregularities. My flat in Fort William had been searched, legally, with proper warrants, and everything related to my photography career had been seized as potential evidence. I was blacklisted. Unemployable. Marked. That was 8 years ago. Since then, I've moved 17 times. Never staying in one place more than a few months. Never using my real name. Working cash jobs, farm labor, construction, cleaning, anything that doesn't require background checks or references. Living in caravans, hostels, rooms rented from people who don't ask questions. And they still find me. Every few months, I'll see the car parked too long outside whatever place I'm staying. The person in the coffee shop who looks at me just a moment too long. The phone that rings once and hangs up, a reminder that they know where I am, that they're still watching. I've tried to disappear completely. Tried to become invisible. But you can't disappear in the modern world, not really. Eventually, you need to use a bank. Eventually, you need medical care. Eventually, you make a mistake and leave a trail they can follow. The footage is gone. The proof is gone. My career is gone. My life is gone. All because I filmed something true. All because I made the mistake of trying to share that truth with a world that has decided it doesn't want to know. This is the end of my testimony. If you're hearing this, I'm probably gone. Either they found me again and this time decided not to let me go, or I finally managed to disappear into whatever refuge people like me can find. Either way, this recording is all that remains. But I need you to understand something, and this is important: the creature was real. The observers are real. There is something ancient monitoring humanity, and the governments of the world have agreed to keep us ignorant of that fact. Whether that's for our protection or their convenience, I can't say.